Did you know that Buggy the clown has a fruit fly gene named after him? The gene is called baramycin and it produces a protein that can split into multiple parts, much like Buggy. And to quote the paper in question, baramycin was partly inspired by Eiichiro Oda's character Buggy, a bara superhuman. So with that in mind, it would seem that Buggy has done more for our real world of science than he has for the fake world of One Piece. Why is that, Buggy? Why are you you? Well, let's find out. Hello and welcome to the Grand Line Review, your source for everything One Piece. My name is Liam and my water bottle says hello to you, so I think it's only fair that you say hi back. But today we are here to lament the existence of a certain clownman because I have a big question to answer, that question being why? How does a man who sailed with the Roger Pirates, fought against the Whitebeard Pirates, and is in some way connected to every great figure of this world, how does that man end up as Buggy the Clown? Something has gone very wrong here. Now I want to know what it is. And that journey begins with a quick round of Clown Town, a very simple minigame, the rules of which are as follows. Here we have 3 One Piece characters and it is going to be your job to guess which of these 3 secretly dresses as a clown during their spare time. Now, should you guess incorrectly, then your hilarious punishment will be to subscribe to the Grand Line Review, thus resulting in consistent injections of One Piece culture administered directly into your YouTube feed. And if you are correct, then you will win a pie. A pie in your face, that is. So who is the covert clown? Make your choice now and we shall reveal the answer in 3, 2, 1, and bam, it was Smoker, which is great and all, but he really needs to stop scaring children. So if you guessed incorrectly, then you know the thing to do, and please do say hi in the comments below if you are a new member of the Grand Fleet. Welcome. So back to canon clowns now. Buggy is generally regarded as a bit of a joke character. And to be fair, it's probably because of all of the jokes. When we consider intrigue in One Piece, Buggy is an uncommon topic to say the least, but he actually has one of the most mysterious and fascinating backstories of anyone in the series. We know almost nothing about his origins except that he was born in the Grand Line, and at the age of young, he became a member of the Roger Pirates along with Shanks. Talk about speed running life there. Buggy was barely out of the womb before he joined the world's greatest pirate crew and began encountering legends like Whitebeard, Shiki, Garp, and Sengoku. Buggy was on the fast track to becoming a wise, powerful, world-renowned, and dangerously handsome pirate. But instead, that's what Shanks did, and Buggy, well, he did this. In fact, when you think about it, Buggy is like a canon example of the 40-year-old future Straw Hats that Oda drew, but he also drew an alternate version of them where things went horribly wrong by the time they reached the age of 40. And well, Buggy, he is 39 years old and a living example of this gone wrong lifestyle. Of course, to bring Shanks back into this, it's quite a cautionary tale. 2 boys who both had the exact same start in life going down radically different paths. And there are several factors as to why Shanks may have ended up as an emperor, and Buggy may have ended up being kicked in the muggy balls by a rubber foot. And one of those factors is going to be purely personality based, because I have a question for you. Was Buggy always evil? Now, evil is a tricky word and it probably doesn't apply to Buggy as we know him because he's more of a selfish phallus than anything. But then again, at the beginning of One Piece, Buggy is in no way a good guy. Back in the days of Orange Town, he was quite a sadistic fellow, more than willing to engage in cold-blooded murder and even sacrifice the lives of his own loyal crewmen. Not to mention holding an entire town hostage with high-powered explosives simply for the lulz. Very funny clown prank there. Really, the only thing separating early Buggy from, say, Arlong is pure competence. And even then, Arlong at least cares for his own crew, so he's almost more sympathetic than Buggy is. And it's not easy to chart the journey of how Buggy arrived at this point because chronologically, Buggy is very inconsistent. For example, if we look at the Odin flashback, Buggy is more or less your standard problem child. He has a lot of dumb ideas and he gets into trouble, but he's a good boy at heart. He holds great respect for his captainman and pretty much every other member of the Roger Pirates. Even his relationship with Shanks seems much more amicable, although Odin did note in his special journal that he wasn't sure if the 2 were best friends or mortal enemies. However, when you contrast this against the Orangetown flashback, Buggy is not a good boy. Buggy is a scheming, manipulative, and greedy existence devoid of all respect and empathy, which is pretty much the exact definition of not a good boy. In a moment of great irony, Buggy also claimed that Shanks was too soft to make it as a pirate. Oh, and he also accused each and every one of the Roger Pirates of being too soft for, and I quote, not having a proper appreciation for booty. Horny little clown revealing a bit too much information there. Of course, this flashback is also quite interesting because it's one of the poorest aging pieces of story in One Piece, mostly because Shanks and Buggy, despite currently sailing with Roger, have no idea what devil fruits are. In fact, the entire crew seems to have no idea what devil fruits are, as when Buggy eats the fake Barbar enemy and nothing happens, one dude guy even says, maybe those tales about devil fruits were lies. Which just like Buggy and the Barabara fruit, I find very difficult to swallow. At this point in the chronology of the series, the crew was sailing in the New World, fighting against organizations like the Whitebeard Pirates, who have like a gazillion devil fruit users, as well as Shiki, Big Mom, Small Dad, and literally everyone else vying for supremacy. Devil fruits weren't exactly this unknown, mysterious, mythical existence. And it's just one of those unfortunate inconsistencies of One Piece, of which there are very few. Because if there are 3 things that I cannot stand in this world, it is 1, hypocrisy, 2, list making, and 3, inconsistency. But this does relate quite greatly to Buggy because firstly, believe it or not, he's actually meant to be younger in the Orangetown flashback than he is in the Odin flashback, which yeah, that doesn't quite look to be the case. The same thing goes for Shanks as well. They had a big growth spurt and then they sort of Benjamin Button themselves back down to teeny tiny childlings. But this leads into the more meta explanation for Buggy, which is that Oda never intended to explore the character this much when he was first crafted. Buggy seems to have been intended to be a flat archetype or comically evil clown thing, and over time as One Piece evolved, that original portrait of Buggy became inconsistent with the bigger landscape picture of the series. Although Buggy would reach something of a turning point fairly early on during his cover story, he ended up bonding with Gaimon on the island of rare animals, so that humanized him a bit. Although with that said, during his next appearance at Logtown, Buggy was still well and truly keen to engage in a bit of the old murder in regards to Luffy, both brutally and very publicly, so let's not give him too much credit during this time period, or in fact any time period. But this case of character inconsistency with the early part of the series can also be used to argue the case of Buggy's strength. Quite famously, Oda did not intend One Piece to last much longer than 5 years, so the gap in power between Buggy and say someone like Roger would not have been anywhere near as drastic as it is now, almost a quarter of a century later. I mean, he still would have had his butt kicked by Roger, and also quite possibly had his butt wiped by Roger, considering that he may have been a baby when he joined the crew. So, something to think about. That's also the boring way to look at it though, because Oda is a pretty great improviseur, and Buggy's descent from greatness does also have an in-world explanation. Ignoring the slightly inconsistent nature of flashbacks, the clear turning point for Buggy chronologically would be Roger's execution. At this time, Buggy was about 14 years old, and the trauma of losing one's captain is nothing to laugh at, thus making Buggy a very counterproductive clown at this stage. And it's also a pretty confronting idea to be left on your own at 14, because for whatever reason, neither Shanks nor Buggy stayed with any of the other Roger pirates. And while Shanks took this adversity and turned it into positive fuel for the future, Buggy very much had the opposite reaction and entered a phase of spiraling negativity and great irrelevance. Let's put it this way, there is no other record in One Piece of backwards progression. Buggy went from sailing at the pinnacle of the world to terrorizing pet food stores in East Blue. Even cases like Gecko Moria, he didn't go backwards, he stole. Moria hit a ceiling, and that ceiling's name was Kaido, which I admit is weird because we don't normally name our ceilings, but in this case, we did. And then the ceiling said, "Wo-do-do-do-do-do," and Moria said, "Kishi-shi-shi-shi," and then they did that for a bit before Moria got hit in the face with a club. Whereas Buggy just degenerated on his own, resigning himself to a petty life of acquiring wealth in the least challenging possible part of the world. And even then, he failed that challenge. For whatever reason, Buggy had this natural immunity to the knowledge and experience of sailing with the greatest pirate currently known to the planet, as well as an illustrious member of the Will of D. And just on that, there has never been a D that has failed to cause a great storm, and with that in mind, I find it quite peculiar that Buggy would lay completely stagnant and dormant until the moment where he encountered yet another mighty D. Because as much as Buggy may despise Luffy, this rubber boy is probably the best thing to have happened to our clown friend since he initially joined the Roger Pirates. It may have been antagonistic in nature, but Luffy pushed Buggy to be more ambitious, to make his way into the Grand Line, to tackle bigger challenges, to orchestrate a prison break of Impel Down, to participate in the Paramount War, and to eventually become a warlord of the sea. If it weren't for Luffy, Buggy would still be sitting in Orangetown eating bowl after bowl of delicious pet food. Whether it was intended by Oda or not, at this point it's pretty clear that Buggy is an element that has been caught up in the storm that is the Will of D. Through a process so coincidental that I can only describe as fate, Buggy has been connected to Roger, Blackbeard, Luffy, and even Ace. And in Luffy's case in particular, Buggy has been an essential element of Luffy's journey. So one could make the case that Buggy's grand undertaking of mediocrity was all intentional and subject to whatever this mighty D-force is. Come to think of it, Buggy's luck is very similar to that of Luffy's, just a little bit more unfortunate in nature. If I were to equate the two, I'd say that Luffy's luck is like when someone throws a wrench at you, and then you coincidentally turn at just the right time to avoid it. Meanwhile, Buggy's luck is like if someone throws a wrench at you and then you trip and fall, slamming your goofy clown face into the hard ground below, but you avoid the greater damage that the wrench would have caused. And Buggy has now slammed his clown face into the floor, perhaps even a wall, a roof, whatever. He's just done it so many times that he has actually broken through into a legitimate position of power. And I would fully expect Buggy to continue to be essential to Luffy in the future. Whatever conflict in whatever final saga happens, I have no doubt that this clown will be there. But we should also take a second to think about what could have been, because somewhere out there is an alternate universe where Buggy walked down the path of Shanks. This beast of a man is one of the most respected names in the world. He holds a master's degree in all 3 brands of haki. Not only that, but he possesses an extraordinarily dangerous devil fruit, which, when you think about it, is not only a hard counter to Draco Mihawk, but also the powers of Doflamingo. Those two are mere scrubs to Buggy the Clown, one of the 4 emperors who clashed with Whitebeard, stopped the war at Marineford, and casually strolled into Marijois to converse with the 5 Elder Stars. I know, it sounds awesome, but ridiculous. However, this was the path that was set up for Buggy in the series, cleanly paved, ready for him to walk on, but instead, Buggy decided to fling himself into the bush and, live a very difficult life. One that is not without its rewards, but they are few and far between. And while this may leave us in something of an unremarkable end, the story of Buggy the Clown is truly unique. Even in a series known for unique adventures, there has never been another character who has so catastrophically fallen from grace. And for that, as well as many other things, I appreciate this wacky, cracky clown. Just as you will appreciate another video. It's about One Piece, so you can't not like it. There's always more to learn, discover, and experience with this wonderful series, so I look forward to seeing you there.